She's a fucking robot.
So, can I please you, my master?
The movie kicks off with a news report by Lindsay Hawthorne, introducing the audience to the German-based Hotbot Corporation's ambitious venture into the US market with their groundbreaking line of sex robots. Despite their innovative offerings, the corporation faces a hurdle with US patent approval. At the Hotbot Corporation's facility, we're introduced to Dr. Heinrich Schaffer and the star of the show, Sophia, their latest prototype. In a quirky interview, we get a taste of her charm and the company's technological advancements, including her lifelike features and flirtatious banter. Two teenagers, Limas and Leonard, are working at a fried fish stand cooking. Leonard started playing with the food, and Limas asked him to stop. Meanwhile, Fraser and Kuntz are in a van to deliver a package, but as they were driving, they heard something move from behind, and they decided to check what it was. At the fried fish stand, Leonard and Rodney got into a fight. Rodney's girlfriend and Limas stopped the fight, and Rodney left in his car. Fraser and Kuntz are knocked out on the ground. Fraser's phone rings, and he answers it. It's Senator Biter asking about the robot they were supposed to deliver. He urged them to find her and bring her to him before hanging up. Limas and Leonard are driving back from work, engaged in a heated argument. Suddenly, they collide with something. Limas exits the vehicle to investigate and discovers a woman's body beneath their car. Shocked, he screams for Leonard's assistance, urgently summoning him out of the car to help him deal with the situation. Limas suggests going to the police as the right course of action, but Leonard dismisses the idea. Instead, they opt to take the woman to Limas's home. As they attempt to move her into Limas's room, his parents unexpectedly arrive. They engage in small talk with Limas's parents, hoping to appear normal. Limas's dad, however, seems suspicious and urges them to get rid of whatever they brought into the house. With a sense of urgency, Limas and Leonard retreat to the bedroom. In the bedroom, Limas and Leonard engage in a tense discussion about their predicament. Before they can reach a decision, Limas's mother interrupts, informing them that it's time for Leonard to leave. Reluctantly, Leonard departs, assuring Limas that he'll return the next morning. Kuntz and Fraser tirelessly search for the lost robot, scouring every possible location, but their efforts prove futile. Kuntz reports their fruitless search, but unfortunately, they receive no assistance or guidance. The next morning, Limas awakens to find the girl missing. Alarmed, he immediately calls Leonard to inform him of the disappearance. Leonard, perhaps trying to lighten the mood, responds with a joke before drifting back to sleep. Undeterred, Limas grabs a hockey stick and begins searching the house and its surroundings. After some time passes, Leonard eventually joins him, and together they intensify their efforts to locate the missing girl. Limas and Leonard eventually locate the missing girl in the bathroom. When she asks who will be intimate with her, Limas, believing her to be a real woman, volunteers. However, upon entering the bathroom, Limas is taken aback by her blunt demeanor. They ultimately decide to simply sleep next to each other. As they settle in, the robot unexpectedly powers down, lying unconscious. Concerned, Limas calls Leonard for help. Together, they examine her closely and come to the startling realization that she is, in fact, a robot. Kuntz and Fraser meet with Senator Biter, who questions them about the missing robot and the money invested in her. Kuntz tries to reassure the senator and emphasizes the company's ability to track the robot if it's activated. He appeals to the senator to help find the robot to avoid any potential conflict. Limas and Leonard bring the robot to a sex toy shop, seeking assistance from the owner, Benny. As Benny starts examining her, they stumble upon a manual and begin reading it. With guidance from the manual, Benny uses Limas's credit card to activate the robot. Once activated, they take her shopping to buy clothes. Limas and Leonard return to Limas's house with the robot. Limas, perhaps feeling a newfound connection, begins dancing with her. However, their intimate moment is interrupted when Limas's mother walks in and sees the robot. She reminds Limas of the rule against having girls over in his room, prompting him to take the robot to his sister's dollhouse. As they were there, his father called from the house and he went back. Limus attempts to sneak out during the night to check on the robot in the dollhouse, but his father catches him and instructs him to return to his room. Reluctantly, Limus complies and spends the rest of the night in his own room. The next morning, Limus heads to the dollhouse and speaks to the robot, informing her that he's going to school but promises to return afterward. While Limus is away at school, Limus's sister Shakobi arrives at the dollhouse to conduct a gospel outreach. The robot welcomes her inside. Limus and Leonard arrive at the dollhouse to find Shakobi talking to the robot. Concerned, Limus pulls Shakobi aside to inquire about their conversation. Meanwhile, Leonard attempts to engage with the robot, but to his surprise, she seems to have undergone a transformation after her conversation with Shakobi, and now exhibits a spiritual demeanor. Limus returns to the dollhouse and attempts to converse with the robot. To his astonishment, she informs him that he must marry her. Fraser and Kuntz resort to torturing Benny to extract information from him. After a grueling interrogation, Benny finally divulges that Limus has the robot. Meanwhile, Limus, influenced by the robot's declaration that he must marry her, decides to buy a ring for Bardot. His intention is to make her believe they are getting married so that she will engage in sexual activities with him. While at the jewelry store, Rodney unexpectedly arrives and notices Bardot. He exchanges numbers with her before Limus interrupts and takes her away. As Limus and Leonard drive back home, they receive a call from Benny. He informs them that the FBI is searching for Bardot and reveals that he was coerced into revealing her whereabouts to Fraser and Kuntz through torture. Suddenly, a black car blocks their path, and they realize it's the FBI. In a panic, they make the split-second decision to flee. Leonard hits the gas, speeding away from the scene. After a tense pursuit, they successfully evade the authorities and make their way to a nearby motel, leaving Kuntz and Fraser pissed. In the motel, Bardot questions Limus about the men who pursued them and their intentions. Confused and concerned, she asks why they are after her. Limus reassures her, stating that he wants her for entirely different reasons, expressing his genuine affection for her. Limus told her it's safer for Bardot to stay at the motel for the night. He arranges for Benny to keep her company while he attends a dinner with his family. Limus expresses concern to Benny about Bardot's state of mind, suggesting that between contemplating God and being pursued by the FBI, her wires are all crossed. However, Limus instructs Benny to sleep in the bathtub to avoid any inappropriate behavior. Limus asserts his dominance, warning Benny that if he tries anything, he'll face serious consequences. Leonard echoes the sentiment, threatening Benny with violence if he crosses any boundaries. They argued for a while, and they left. Kuntz and Fraser meet with Biter, who expresses frustration and impatience. He refers to the FBI as retarded men in black and criticizes their incompetence. Biter desperately seeks information about Bardot's whereabouts, urging Kuntz and Fraser to assist him. Despite Biter's pleas, Kuntz and Fraser struggle to provide concrete answers. Biter implores them to lead him to Bardot or the person who took her, but they admit they lack the necessary information even though they know who took her. In the house, Limus sits down for dinner with his parents, who take the opportunity to offer marital advice to Shakobi. As the conversation turns to prayer, Limus declines to participate, much to his parents' frustration. Later that night, Biter unexpectedly appears in Limus's room while Limus is sleeping. Sitting on the bed, Biter opens up about his childhood before getting to the point. He demands Limus to bring Bardot back. He sets a deadline for tomorrow and then leaves, leaving Limus to ponder his request. Outside, Kuntz and Fraser await Biter's return. Fraser questions their next move, to which Biter instructs them to stay put and observe. He predicts Limus will lead them to Bardot in the morning and then instructs them to kill him. However, after a moment's thought, Biter decides he wants the honor of killing Limus himself and instructs Kuntz and Fraser to bring Limus to his house instead. Kuntz manages to get the room number and calls Limus and Leonard inside. He demands they come out with their hands up. However, Limus refused to surrender to Bardot. Leonard takes the phone from Limus and confronts Kuntz, insisting they won't give Bardot up. Then he starts ordering food. Kuntz and Fraser are baffled by the sudden change in conversation as Leonard orders 3 twisty treats, 3 Cokes, and 1 giant pizza. Leonard made the situation into a hostage situation. After a while, the agents call them and tell them they got their ice cream and to come out to get it. After the agents call them, Benny confronts Kuntz and punches him. Frazier retaliates by knocking out Benny. Then he got into the room, breaking the door, and arrested Limas and Leonard. The other agents put them in the trunk while Frazier escorted Bardot out of the room. Outside, Bardot asked Frazier to let her go, but he refused to let go and she knocked him out. She fought all the agents. She refuses to release Limas and Leonard, believing they bring too much trouble. As a result, she leaves them locked in the trunk. Rodney discovers Bardot and takes her in his car. Rodney brings Bardot to the fried fish stand to show them he has her. Later that night, they attend a party at Rodney's house. When Rodney sees Limas and Leonard, he starts hitting them. Bardot intervenes and fights back, overpowering Rodney. After defeating him, Bardot leaves with Limas and Leonard, leaving Rodney behind. In the house, Limas's father, Huffington, discovers the credit card bill and notices numerous charges for the motel. Believing his identity has been stolen, he freezes his account until he can resolve the issue. Bardot was driving the car with Kuntz and Frazier following them. When the credit card was canceled, she shut down and the car crashed. When Leonard and Limas arrived home, both sets of parents were waiting for them. They confronted the boys, mistakenly believing they were in love with each other. Despite Leonard and Limas's attempts to explain otherwise, their parents remained unconvinced. In the end, Leonard left with his parents, leaving Limas to face the situation alone with his parents. Kuntz and Frazier finally succeed in bringing Bardot to bite her, but unfortunately, she has suffered severe hardware damage. Now grounded, Leonard and Limas are unable to meet, so they communicate via text. Limas repeatedly expresses his heartbreak over losing Bardot. At school, Cassidy, Rodney's ex-girlfriend, approaches Limas. He confides in her about what he's going through, and she reveals that she has broken up with Rodney. Limas receives an invitation to Biter's campaign event and shares the news with Leonard, deciding to attend together. When they arrive, Biter is delivering a speech. Sneaking to the back of the venue, they find Bardot and attempt to activate her. However, their efforts are interrupted when Frazier appears. Kuntz and Frazier attempt to extract the boys, but Benny unexpectedly arrives and attacks the agents. Bardot joins forces with them, and the four of them decide to make their escape. With numerous agents in pursuit, they manage to evade capture and get into a car. They take Bardot to the airport to help her leave the country with the assistance of Huffington. As Limas bids farewell to Bardot, he expresses his love for her, and she reciprocates, confessing her feelings. They share a kiss before Bardot departs. Cassidy arrives at Limas's workplace and asks him out on a date. The movie concludes as the two of them drive off together, hinting at a new beginning for Limas.